The Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report live from Las Vegas. We have Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe as the Celtics start their Summer League slate here with a loss. Some bright spots, Gary, some shaky performances in the game here. It was kind of disorganized. It was a little bit of a sloppy game. Definitely a big difference from what we were watching in the NBA Finals from this team. But there's plenty of interesting guys on this roster. There's a first-round pick for the first time under Brad Stevens, who looked pretty good in this game, and Baylor Shireman. So what are you looking for from this team out here? What did you take away from that first game?
Well, I'm just looking for progress from the guys that need to make progress. I thought Jaden Springer take a really positive first step forward in terms of just trying to prove his worth on this roster and not just be a guy at the end of the bench. I thought J.D. Davidson did some good things, hit all three of his three-pointers. He shot 26% last year from three in Maine, so he's got to become a better shooter. I think he's a good floor leader. He's turned into a better point guard, but to be a point guard in the NBA, you got to shoot. You got to be able to shoot, and so I was impressed with him. A little discouraged by Jordan Walsh.
That was tough to watch.
Yeah, two discouragements. One was Jordan Walsh. I just felt like he's pressing. He's out there trying to prove himself. He's out there trying to take that step forward. He's trying to show he's an NBA player, you know. And I wrote about this in the Globe. Like, just it's tough because I think what you're seeing more and more, Bobby, in Summer League are a lot of these one-and-done guys who probably should have stayed in school, and now they're trying to, like, they're fighting for their NBA lives. Like, I look at a guy who played for Miami, Josh Christopher, a one-and-done guy who spent 2 years in Houston, then got waived last year. So he's like 21 years old, literally fighting for a job playing on the Heat Summer League team. And he was good. Obviously, he was one of the better players on the floor in that game. But he's a guy who's literally barely drinking age now, kind of fighting for his NBA life. Or if not, it's headed back to the G League. And, I think Jordan is one of those situations where he probably shouldn't have come out of Arkansas, maybe a bit too early. And now he's trying to do things well in the NBA, Bobby, that he didn't do well in college. He's trying to be a shooter, swingman, 3-and-D guy. And I think it was obvious in Saturday's game he was pressing. He was getting down on himself, kind of the emotions after he missed shots. That was tough to watch. And let's see if he bounces back Monday against the Lakers. He's got opportunities. I think he's got talent, but I think he's really putting pressure on himself to show that he's worth a roster spot. And I just thought Neemias Queta, his matchup with Khalil Ware is probably going to start for Miami. I mean, I don't know about you, Bobby, but I was thoroughly impressed.
If they're going to go big, for sure.
I didn't see much of him in Indiana, so when I heard about him and he was a first-round pick, I didn't watch the Big Ten basketball that much this year, but he looks like a bona fide big man, and I thought Queta struggled guarding him, struggled on the pick and roll. I thought Queta played a real step slow. Now, he was able to pick up shots at the rim. He scored, but I wasn't really encouraged by his matchup with a rookie, right? And Queta's in his third or fourth year now. I thought he should have fared better. But I just want to see guys like that take a step forward. We didn't get a chance to see much of Ron Harper. We didn't see Jalen House. In the first-round picks, I don't know about you, Bobby, Watson's bigger than I thought. Like, I thought he was more of a 3.
More shoulders and, strength.
I thought he was more of a 3 at Gonzaga. And then I looked at him like, no, he's a 4 or 5. So I was a little surprised. I thought he played well. He didn't get a lot of action in terms of shots and all that, but I thought he fared well.
He fit in, yeah. And that's going to be the key for any of these guys, is just fitting in, figuring out where they can get in on this roster. And that's the good thing about Springer. Like, if he's hitting some threes off the ball, that's where he can probably get into the mix, especially on rest nights and stuff like that. He's actually on the NBA roster next year, as is Walsh. But like you mentioned with him, it's where is he going to fit in here? He's not going to have the ball in his hands a lot. They're probably going to be asking him to shoot threes. He was 36% in the G League last year.
He better. Like, the thing is, Bobby, like, that's the thing. This is his last guaranteed year of his contract.
Right.
Next year, only $200,000 is guaranteed. So the Celtics could part ways. He's only a second-round pick. It's not like, and that's the thing when you enter the draft and you fall to the second round, you're fighting to try to gain traction. And I think Jordan he's got to show more in the next couple of ball games. And I just think maybe he was pressing, and I know he told us, the day before, hey, I don't have Tatum and Brown here, so now I can take maybe some more shots. I can get some more opportunities.
He's eager. He's very eager. Like, even from day one.
You could see it, and he's a great kid. I mean, you couldn't, and obviously a dream year to be part, and then maybe not on the floor, Bobby, but in an organization
around it.
Yeah, to win a chip, and your name's always going to be associated with, hey, he was on that team, right? He played 9 games or whatever, and he didn't get much playoff action, but he can always say that. But now it's time to prove that you belong in the league, and that's going to be a struggle for him. I think he's got to show a little bit more.
For all these guys, yeah. What do you think of Shireman? I thought slow start, strong finish.
Yeah, I liked him. He's got a real feel for the game. I think he'll blend in fine. The threes will drop. He makes good passes. He has great floor vision. The people I've talked to about him, and like I said, I didn't watch Big Ten. I didn't watch a whole bunch of Creighton either. They didn't know a lot about him. The people I've talked to said, oh, man, the Celtics got a real keeper. They got a really good player at 30. The people I talked to were like, wow, I'm surprised he dropped that far. So it sounds like a real value pick for them, and it sounds like he can contribute maybe a tad bit this year. We'll see how their lineups and rotations go and what Joe thinks of him.
Yeah, and
when we get to camp. But I think for now he shows that he could play in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. And they might need him if they don't bring back an O'Shea Brissett, if they don't bring back a Svi Mykhailiuk. I think there's obviously a chance that they could just keep that last spot open or save some tax money and just see who's out there once that comes around. I really haven't heard a lot of buzz about Brissett at all at this point. So
I think he probably should have opted in and maybe bet on himself for one more in the next year. But now I think I know it's great. Your value goes up when you're part of a championship team, but I think we can all agree, Bobby. I know he's a Syracuse guy, and we're rooting for him because he's a great personality. I think
fellow ACC guy in your case now.
Yeah, right? Hey, my Cowboys are in the ACC, but I think we can all kind of agree that it didn't work out like I think we thought. We thought he'd be that kind of the Grant Williams kind of guy, the swing man who can hit some threes, play some defense, and Joe kind of lost trust in him, and he couldn't shoot. And he had some moments in the playoffs, that Indiana series, but it'll be interesting to see where him and Svi both go, because I think what happens is, as you know, Bobby, like the market's going to end up drying up, and there's going to be nothing out there but minimums, and there's going to be guys who are thinking they're going to maybe make $6-7 million a year who are going to have to take minimum deals. And so if I'm Svi and I'm O'Shea, it might be that you got to take a minimum. It's better than a training camp invite, or a non-guaranteed deal. So I think that's probably what they're looking for now.
And that's what he could have had with picking up the option. I actually was expecting him to pick that up. So I know playing time is important for him too. I don't know how much of that is out there at this point either. So we'll see. Maybe the door's open. Maybe it's something that could work out in the end. But right now, Celtics still have that last roster spot open. Still a two-way spot open here. Probably going to be Watson, I'd imagine, coming in on the second, on the second round pick there. So.
And we haven't talked about Drew Peterson.
I thought he looked okay.
Yeah, I thought I'm expecting more.
You want to see shooting, right?
Yeah,
from him.
I just want to see him, because if they don't re-sign Sam next year, and obviously with the second apron, Bobby, as you know, free agency is going to be kind of an afterthought for the Celtics. They're not going to be able to go out and get a bunch of non-minimum guys.
Whoever they lose, they can't really replace. Yeah.
So if Sam walks away, and Sam's probably going to get that $75-80 million deal from a team with some space over 4 years because he's a premium shooter, and those are valued in the NBA. Drew's going to have to step up, and he's not a young guy. He's a fifth-year guy coming out of SC, so you'd want him to take that step forward. He's 23, 24. It's not like, Jordan just turned 20.
Yep.
You could maybe give him a break here and there, but Drew, you want to see more. I wasn't all that, and I didn't think he played good minutes in the opener. I want to see more from him to occupy that two-way spot.
Yeah, and he came off the bench as well. So Celtics going to run it back. Obviously, shooting comes and goes and these kind of things. It was disorganized. Maybe they'll have more of a grasp on what they want to do going into Game 2 against Bronny and the Lakers here on Monday. We'll have coverage of that here on CLNS Media, Celtics All Access, of course, in the Globe. We are brought to you by Game Time here on the Garn Report. Go to the Game Time app and create an account today, our official ticket marketplace, where you're going to get the best deals, and some of the best deals are right up until or even after game time. Create an account, use the code CLNS, again CLNS, for $20 off your first purchase over there. Terms apply. You got baseball going on, of course, WNBA. You want to go see a game down in Connecticut, or concerts and events. I used it on Hiatus Coyote over the weekend, so I got a great deal over there, and you can too. And if you use the code CLNS, you'll get $20 off your first purchase, of course. Terms apply. Let's move on to Jaylen. I don't know what you thought of this, Gary. I can't imagine the Celtics loved him coming out, and whether intentional or not, kind of overshadowing Derek making the USA team as an injury replacement for Kawhi Leonard, and sharing some of his disdain for Nike in the process, and I guess throwing some allegations indirectly there that maybe they were a part of him not being part of this USA team here. It was reported a while back that Derek was probably going to be that replacement for Kawhi if he was out. And Jaylen really didn't follow up much on the emojis he tweeted out and the Nike tweet that I think he later deleted. So I don't know. What were your general thoughts on just his reaction to not making the team?
I wasn't crazy about his reaction, but I do think he has a gripe. I do think that whatever reason, maybe someone's telling Grant Hill, don't take this guy on. When you're in the Olympic stage, the international stage, Bobby, the world is watching.
Yep.
And do you want Jaylen Brown on that stage with his political beliefs, with some of the things he says and he feels and he believes in, and it's he has the right to believe what he wants to believe. But I think the Olympic Committee is like, do we want a guy with his kind of demeanor and personality on the team, and might say things about the issues in Palestine, may go political at times, his role model and the guy that was there at his contract extension signing was John Carlos, the great John Carlos, who in '68 was the one who raised his fist along with Tommy Smith. And that's, his role model.
Right.
So I think Team USA is thinking ahead and saying, do we want to put Jaylen on that stage? So I do think, Bobby, this is part political. Do I think Nike's involved? Perhaps, because he's a shoe-free agent. We know he's been for a while. He'll wear Nikes, but he's told me he'll only wear Kobe's. That's his tribute to Kobe. But he kind of walks to the beat of his own drummer. And the question is, do you want someone with that type of personality on that stage? And I think maybe Team USA is refraining from that. I think Jaylen's insulted. We talked about Bobby. One, you choose I think Grant Hill's making some interesting decisions here. I think the choice of Kawhi from the jump, everybody questioned.
Right.
He missed most of the Dallas series with a bad knee. He could not get on the floor, and that was, early May? And so suddenly, a month later, he's going to be completely rejuvenated and be able to go through Team USA camp and scrimmages with the select team and 5 exhibition games and 7 or 8 games
to get to the gold, right?
To get to the goal. Like, he's going to be fine. I think everybody questioned that. And I'm thinking Jaylen Brown's like, okay, I can't get a call. I can't get because, as you know, Bobby, the selection, it was just a selection process. Usually there's a camp with 20 or 30 guys to go for those 12 spots. Some of the guys know they have no shot at making the team. They just want to be part of it. Other guys are really vying to make that team. So I know Kyrie Irving said the same thing, like, hey, I thought that was a tryout process. It's usually a tryout because he was on the 16 team. And I think Kyrie was interested in playing for Team USA, and obviously probably political reasons might have led to him just going, hey, leave that guy alone.
Yeah.
And so for Jaylen not to get a call and an invite, I think he has a problem with that. I think he has a problem with a guy like Devin Booker automatically kind of being penciled in, where Jaylen kind of views Devin as a rival, a peer. They came into the league around the same time, around the same age. And, Devin's put up the numbers, no championships, lost in the finals in 21. Phoenix is one of the more disappointing teams in the league this year. Even with him and Durant and Beal, it just never worked out. They got swept out of the playoffs. And Jaylen not only has to watch him take an All-NBA spot, which he feels is right, he deserved, he feels like, okay, this guy's automatically on Team USA. And we can talk the question is Devin Booker equal defender as Jaylen? You'd probably say no.
No, yeah.
He's a better scorer, right?
Better ball handler.
Yeah, he's a better 2-3, but I think Jaylen looks at that. He looks at Tyrese Halliburton, and I think he's good with these guys, but he thinks what has Halliburton done to earn an automatic Olympic invite that I haven't earned? I'm multiple All-Star, reached the All-NBA team a couple years ago, highest paid player in the league. Regardless, I backed it up with the NBA MVP and Eastern. He's got a gripe.
Yeah,
and I think he looked. Sorry, I think he looks at that roster because, and we can go into it with LeBron, Curry, Embiid, and Kevin Durant. Those are guys that you're not going to turn down, right? Those spots are locked. They love Drew Holiday, so that's a lock spot. And Tatum is a guy who was the second best player in Team USA in 21 at the Olympics in Tokyo. So now you're talking about 6 spots, and that's where it gets kind of tough to pick out the best team.
Yeah, no, and you had Paul Georges of the world, and like you mentioned, Kyrie who's left off there. The tough part, optically here and the way he reacted to it is that he might feel, I should be there over Halliburton, I should be there over Booker. Maybe it's someone else on the roster, but when White is the guy who goes in that day, it sort of looks like I'm not there and, White's there. And obviously that's not what he's getting at with the comments, but at the very least, you probably want to see him at least be like, congrats to Derek, well deserved. That's fine. And we didn't really hear anything like that.
No, I think he's got to have a conversation with Derek.
Yeah.
And I don't think his issue is with Derek. I think his issue is with the entire politics of the selection process. And we know, I mentioned on other podcasts, Bobby, the 216 team, the women's team, where I think Candace Parker had come off a WNBA MVP, was one of the best players in the league, and Gino left her off the team.
Right.
And we've never been able to figure out, besides it being personal, why Candace Parker wasn't on the 16 team, and Tina Charles what half the team was UConn players. This stuff does get political. Sometimes it does get personal. I think Grant Hill's a good guy. But someone pointed out to me, why wouldn't you name, if you're Team USA, why wouldn't you name someone who's put together rosters before, like a former general manager who's done this before, put together a team of talent, of, we need bigs, we need this position, we need that position to fill the roster adequately, as opposed to Grant Hill, who seems to be, Duke guy. It's okay, I like those guys. Is he playing favorites?
He even said there's certain guys you just can't say no to. And I'm sure, I don't think he mentioned Kawhi in that class, but that was probably the biggest reason Kawhi's there, is that legacy.
Because he showed interest in playing. It's that guy's going to the Hall of Fame, first ballot, top 75 player. You're not going to push him away.
Right.
But I also think it made it hard when you got the 4 automatic roster spots locked. When Steph has never been in the Olympics, LeBron decides to come back after he didn't play in 16 or 20, so he hasn't been back in 12 years. So LeBron decides, I'm gonna make one last run. KD, who was the best player in 21, so
you can't say no to any of those guys.
Tatum and Holiday, both of those guys are very much liked by Team USA. Tatum was the second best player behind Durant on that 21 team. He saved them in a couple of ball games. So I feel bad for Jaylen. I think he's getting slighted. I think he's saying to himself, I put in 8 years in this league. I was at the top of my game. I got it done.
He did a World Cup too, right, in 2019.
Some people say, well, he wasn't good in the World Cup. And, Bobby, that team was
it was a bad team.
That team finished 7th.
Yeah.
Marcus wasn't great. Jason got hurt. Kimba was in. That 19 team was not a great team. Maybe he made some not so good impressions off the floor, or maybe how I don't know, from 5 years ago. But you got to think, Bobby, there's something to where it's personal. Where Grant Hill was like, okay, I'm gonna leave that guy alone.
So you've talked to him about the shoe thing in the past. I remember the conversations about, all right, where are you going with your deal? Are you going to create something new here? And that's sort of been an ongoing process for him for a while now. You had the run-in with Nike around the Kyrie Irving incident as well when they dropped him, and he came out and criticized them then. How much of this do you think that's a factor in Jaylen's frustration and maybe even the snub here, the whole Nike angle to this?
I do think there's part of it. I think he definitely thinks there's a corporate kind of wall that he will not be able to get over because of Nike. Also, his participation in the Players Association, he's active there. I think he thinks, hey, I'm probably too woke and too political to be on that stage, and there's a reason why they don't want me, and it's not my talent. But I also think he looks – remember that quote, Bobby, after Game 2 against Indiana where he said, there's people that have done half of what I've done who get twice as much as accolades. I think he was referring to guys like Booker. I think when we asked him about not making the All-NBA team, I mean, I think he was referring to a couple of guys who made the team, and he referred to them without mentioning names of guys who he says gives twice as much accolades and credit, but have half as much talent. So I think he is definitely feels like he's just not a system guy, and he sprayed from training camp. I don't know if you asked him. I forgot who asked him the question in training camp
about wanting to participate.
Yeah, he was in to play for Team USA. But I think somebody, whether it be Grant Hill, Nike people, Team USA, somebody is saying, Steve Kerr, I don't know, is like, you might want to leave that guy alone.
What do you think this says about his standing in Boston? Because obviously he's kind of talked about having to sacrifice in Boston, the personal stuff, the on-the-court stuff about being with this team. Obviously he was comfortable enough to sign on long-term. Mm-hmm. Felt like he was more comfortable in his role this year too, or even just being part of the city. You just didn't hear kind of the discomfort you heard 2 years ago there. So where do you think this kind of leaves him? Because he got the contract, got finals MVP. He's getting more credit than ever before here, but still kind of feels like it's not quite enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably – I think the Celtics thing is kind of past because the organization obviously rewarded him with the
biggest contract ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We thought – I thought, well, after that Miami game where he had the 8 turnovers, maybe you can pay him $250 over 5. Is he going to, turn that down and say that's insulting to me? Or whatever, to get $50 million a year, is that something that I can't see anybody turning that type of money down. But the Celtics gave him the whole boat. I think that's respect.
Yep.
I think his desire to invest in the city of Boston in terms of trying to make more equal the disparity in terms of the income between the mainstream communities and the underrepresented communities. I think that meant a lot. I think the Celtics have supported everything he's done.
Yep.
I mean, you even see the tweets since, congratulating him and winning the ESPY and showing him at the ESPY Awards and in different photos and different scenes from the awards. They're trying to show pride. I think the Celtics are trying to say, hey, we're not Team USA, Jaylen. We got you. We love you.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is, now you're seeing video where Derek has arrived in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, whatever.
Abu Dhabi,
Abu Dhabi. Thank you, Bobby. He's arrived there, and Jason and Drew are hugging him, and you're my man, and what's up? Let's get you up to date. And I think Jaylen might look at that and be like, the gang's all here, and I'm left out. Mm-hmm. So who and I think
even Tatum's reaction was kind of like, a lot of guys could have made the team.
Yeah, it would have helped if Jason would have had his back more. Who knows what kind of conversation would be behind the scenes, whether Jason is like, hey man, I got you, you should be here, or whether they've talked. He said they didn't talk. Jason's can't be so robotic, and I get Jason. Jason's in a situation now, Bobby, where he's playing with KD, his hero. We've seen pictures from his basketball camp with KD. First time ever playing with LeBron.
Right.
First time ever playing with Curry. First time ever, he's close friends with Joel Embiid. Him and Embiid are good.
Bam, he's close.
Bam is one of his better friends in the league. So he's living La Vida Loca, right? Yeah. He's living that life, and he's enjoying the whole process of being an Olympian, going to Paris. I think he's loving this because it's like, hey, I get to play with people that I wanted to play with, my heroes, some of my close friends. So to tell him, okay, now flip the switch and say Jaylen should be here, and this is a travesty. I don't know. I don't think that's Jason's makeup to do that. Now could Jason have been someone telling him, hey, Jason, just stay out of this? Is that what his people are telling him?
Sometimes it feels like they just don't want to do that whole thing.
Yes.
Whenever I've asked him about Jaylen, he just doesn't even want to talk about it. So I think that's just kind of where he's at. Jalen's a little bit more open with a lot of this stuff. So that's just kind of how it is between those two. And the dynamic's obviously in a good place. We saw it play out this year in a championship level. So I don't think there's going to be enough to knock any of that off. But, again, just one of those things that optically didn't look great for the whole kind of dynamic there on USA. And obviously Brown has a reason to have a gripe coming off of Finals MVP. Real quick before we get out of here, I want to ask your thoughts about the ownership situation, Wick putting the team up for sale, Irv. Obviously, a lot of reporting from the Globe about his involvement there and just how the shares are kind of stacked up here. It sounds like Steve Pagliuca is going to be a strong candidate here, which is probably going to create some level of coherence over to the next group here. I know Adam's done some reporting on it as well, that it's not necessarily the whole group putting it up for sale. So is this going to be impactful at all to the franchise, or is this just going to kind of be Wick passing the torch to Steve?
Yeah. It all depends, Bobby, on people are like, well, who do you think will buy the team? Like, I don't have any idea because
there's only one guy that's been named in the process so far.
Yeah, and you're looking at the billionaires who might want to own a sports team, and people are like, well, I'm surprised. Well, look at Mark Cuban got out. I mean, he was Mr. Owner for the Mavericks, and he cashed in on his side. It was really bizarre when they won the Western Conference not to see him on the podium, and it was another guy, and it was like, well, who's that guy? Where's Cuban at? And Cuban was at the finals and all that, but he was very low key.
Right.
And so I think I maybe expect Wick to kind of take the same role if he has active. Will he just be a fan after this? We'll see about that, but I don't know who will buy the team, but I do think there's probably one person or two people who would love to own the Celtics. And I think the thing that they're going to do, because I think that's the profit aspect of it, is try to build a new arena. And
you think that's feasible?
Well, that's, obviously, I mean, I haven't been in Boston 15 years, but everybody talks about how long things take to get done here. And I can't speak for how long it took from in the 90s, this is before your time, Bobby, for them to get over to TD Garden from the Boston Garden, how long that process took. Was it 10-year, 15-year? When did the Celtics first say, okay, we need a new arena? Was it the
Bruins own the arena, so that'd be them. Yeah,
was it the mid 80s? When did the Bruins and Celtics decide, okay, it's time for us to get a new arena in this city, and how long that took? And now the politics, where would you put the arena? Some people, put it on the nearest seaport. That sounds like a great idea, but the property will be $1 trillion to etch that out, and you have to find a place to put it. But I think if I'm an owner, owning the arena is where it's at. That's where the profit is. If not, and I think that's one of the reasons why Wick is probably getting out, is that the money-making aspect of it. When you don't own the arena, you don't make money off the concessions, you don't make money off the parking, you don't make money off of anything in the arena. The Bruins do. Probably it hurts the Celtics financially. So this is a break-even process, and probably even a money-losing process at best. I think people have asked me over the years, well, why hasn't Boston ever applied? And now they have, or
for the All-Star game.
For an All-Star game, is because the owner said it's a money-losing proposition and we don't own this arena, and basically the money are going to the pockets. We got to split the money with the Bruins and the city. Why would we do that? It's a money-losing proposition just to have the All-Star game. So that's why it has been 1964, was that 60 years?
Yeah,
Bobby, since the last All-Star game in Boston, and I know they're trying to go for the 2029 game. And I don't know if that plan's been shelved now that the sale's been announced, but it's a lot to own in the arena. So I don't know who, would be in line. Would it be Ellison, the guy who's always been in line and wanted to buy the Warriors and has been in line to try to buy other teams? Is it a guy who doesn't live in Boston? Obviously, they're not going to move the team, but they would come in here and view it as an asset. So I think it's fascinating to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll continue to keep an eye on that process as it evolves here. Probably going to take a long time, but Gary Washburn, the Globe's got it covered, and continue to follow on with the Garden Report here throughout Summer League. Great talking to you, Gary. Celtics Lakers coming up next, 7:30 out here, 10:30 on the East Coast. So we'll have a post game late night after that, and we'll be here for 3 games covering this. So check us out, CLNS Media, for all the interviews, Celtics All Access for all the shows and coverage, and again, show game times, and we'll have used that code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. For Gary Washburn, I'm Bobby Manning. This has been the Garden Report live from Las Vegas. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS